Speedway.
That was the first time I drove a sprint car, and that's this piece right here, a radius rod. I've kept this for 14 years and I'll tell you why a little later, but that day was so incredibly bittersweet for 15-year-old me. At the time, I felt like I finally got to do the one thing I've always wanted to do in driving a sprint car. But how it ended was by far the most embarrassed I've ever felt. And I guarantee that the people watching who most likely have never been in that sort of position probably aren't aware of what young drivers in this sport feel, which is why I wanted to spend a night with a young driver. The driver we chose, 16-year-old Kobi Wright. Kobi is from Muswellbrook in New South Wales and is at the tail end of his first full season in sprint car racing. His dad, Andrew, stepped out of the driver's seat to make way for Kobi. Going racing with family is difficult and the father-son relationship can be quite delicate to balance. I think being a parent who has driven a sprint car can almost be worse simply because they know exactly what their kid is being strapped in to do.
Nerve-wracking. To the point where I'd probably apologise to my wife and my father about the stuff that I put them through when I drove, because I probably crashed more than the average sprint car driver. But it's very nerve-wracking. Like, you can be in the car and be close to a wall or close to a car and you're comfortable, where when you're watching on the outside with no control whatsoever, it affects you in a totally different way.
My confidence has been pretty low since my first roll, or tip over it here, Toowoomba.
That was just a stupid mistake by me. Just looped it in front of the field, and yeah, just can't say sorry enough to all the people I took out.
On a race night, he probably leaves me to do my own stuff. Like, he just works on the race car and tells me where I need to go, what I should be expecting, stuff like that.
Just before we go out each time, I try to tell him where they're running, what they're doing on the track, like all fathers, sons, crew chiefs, drivers do.
Expectations, he doesn't put any expectations on me, just sort of lets me do my own thing. I feel like when you have expectations and you don't achieve them, it only brings your mental game down even more. So he doesn't put any mental expectations on me, but when we've had some bad nights on my end, it sort of points me in the right direction and gives me some constructive criticism, and I probably don't take it the best. We
always end with a fist pump, get into it, mate, have fun, enjoy it. You got to come back in smiling, just stuff like that, just to try and reinforce that, while we want to do well, at the end of the day, we've still got to enjoy it, because it's too much work and too much time to not enjoy it.
As a 16-year-old, I hated qualifying. It's the most daunting part of the night. The track is its fastest, and you've been mentally preparing yourself for this all week. It feels like your entire night depends on those laps, and there's no excuses. The last thing you want to do is let your team down by not having a crack. All of this whilst still not fully coping with the power, speed, and intensity of what these cars are capable of.
Drop the
watch some of this onboard footage with a smile because it reminds me of when I began racing and having my old man constantly reaching inside my cockpit to tighten my belts. Looking back, we were probably just as nervous as each other.
Both need a bit of help. Need a bit of help getting off on the top. Get longer on the bottom. Quicker lunge in. 12 point. 11.7. Mate, there's no difference between you and me. Just a good lap. I'm going to roll around the bottom. Hopefully we'll get a steady invert.
What do you think of his qualifying?
I think I missed it with the car a little bit. We look like we're to me, a bit left front down, so the right rear's up turning, but we did have a bit of a talk about doing 2 or 3 laps at the top and then ripping one around the bottom because it looked like there was a bit in 3 and 4, and that was his faster lap. So he done a good job there. I just probably got to get him a little bit better car, and he's probably a right rear tyre with down out of the real moisture up near the wall, but that's an experience thing. We can build on that. So I think we'll be 21st. Should put us off the front row of the heat. Then if we go all right there, we should go towards the front of the B, hopefully get another 12, 15 laps. Hopefully tag the back of the A and get a good night's worth of laps on a little bit different racetrack than what we've had at Toowoomba.
Is he happy with his effort?
The competitor in him, no. But I think he was happy that he moved around a little bit, tried the bottom, and is what drivers like to do, always looking for more.
A little bit loose and not driving in the right spots, but we ended up second quick in our group, so what was all right. I think we start second in heat 4, so hopefully we'll make up a good heat race there and maybe scrape into the feature or somewhere up the front of the B.
Why do you think you weren't putting it in the right spot? Is that you not having the confidence, or?
Probably, I'd say so. I just wasn't high enough, haven't really run up against the wall as close as it was then yet. So just getting used to that, and just got to keep doing it, and eventually I'll get better at it.
Racing requires a totally different mindset. I always felt that the heat race was the most intense race of the night, and each position's meaning is magnified. Kobi came really close to a heat win earlier this season, only to be passed on the final corner.
White flag is out, the nose to tail. Cullen to the outside on the final lap. Right on the bottom, and Brock Cullen steals it on the outside. What a drive!
Unlike qualifying, you really need to be able to move around in the heats because you're racing and could get into traffic as well. It blew me away when I began racing with how the more experienced drivers are incredibly aggressive from the drop of the green flag. And honestly, even the bad drivers are doing a better job than the fans realize. As a kid, you're trying to convince yourself to drive with more throttle and aggression when you're not quite convinced the car will turn at the end of the straight at those speeds.
Get to the front, you have to drive the shit out of it. So you're going to be coming.
of the throttle, and that gives them a bit more room to get in underneath you. You have the right just rolling around the top. The only difference is the blokes that were in front of you, they're really committing to the top, but they've got a lot more laps than you. So the only thing I can suggest is, if you're going to go to the top, we've got to try and creep up on our courage to run a little bit harder. But you're definitely down that end around the bottom, you look a lot more comfortable. Here it's a 50-50 proposition, where I think you looked your best when you rolled through the top up here and then come back to the bottom down there. It's just like I said, to go to the top up this end, it's a lot more. But that's what we're here for, we're creeping into it. Does it still feel like it's sitting up on the track, not getting down into it?
Probably it does.
Down this end?
Keep it getting off.
Yeah. So we'll see. I reckon that'll probably put us second or third row in the boot, and we'll just see what we can do. But I reckon they'll touch the track. But if we need to, you know, you can run the bottom 3, 1 and 2. Get the top of 3, 4. But if you need to, if you're going to run the bottom in this end, you really got to slow it down and try and. Because if you get in the middle, you're just going to sit there and do nothing. Right out. All good. Hands up, mate. Right. Feel good.
Everyone around you is happy to see you in a B main to get laps, but you're not thinking that way at all. It is such a relief to transfer directly to the feature. When you first start making features, most drivers aren't so much there because of their speed, but rather maybe because others have dropped out along the way. Toowoomba is such a fantastic track to race at, but the racing, I would say, is currently the most competitive in Australia, and there's nowhere to hide. Only the top 4 in the B main transfer to the feature, and Kobi was starting from 3rd. B main up the front, the leader crashed out of that one, so Kobi's got a shot. Started out of 3rd, dropped back a few spots, but he definitely got a shot here to move forward. Out a fair bit. He started out at 3, went backwards a couple of spots. They only take the top 4, but now he's back up to 3rd. He's doing a great job nailing the bottom. Really needs to just focus on the process, making sure he's nailing his laps, and then the race will come to him and the positions will fall his way. There's a lot of cars around him pushing a bit too hard right now, so he's doing a great job, and he's going to earn himself a spot in the A main if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Next season should be a good one.
Kobi almost seems dejected, right? And I get it. For everyone else, he's doing a great job with such limited experience. But for him, he just wants to be better. It's such a strange confusion in your head where you want to try harder, but yet you're nowhere near ready to wrangle this monster of a car. The night has worked out perfectly for him though, maximizing laps by running the B main and now locking into the feature. Seems like an average night, and I guess it is, but these are the nights that shape young drivers. I usually try to make videos that appeal to thousands of sprint car fans that watch our videos, but I kind of wanted to make this one for 16-year-old sprint car rookies. I'm glad I've kept this because when I look at it, I no longer think of the embarrassment, but instead I think of the progress I made. Every driver starts somewhere different. When I see young drivers, I have empathy of what they're going through because their thoughts are nothing like the guys and girls that are driving the shit out of it up the front competing for wins. Of all of the advice I could give to any driver now, pretty much half my age, I would say enjoy it. Don't think you're the only driver that overthinks and has doubts either. It's not something every kid gets to do. Give yourself time to not so much get the results, but to work on the process of being better. Progress may feel slow, but in time you will improve and you'll be proud of how much progress you did make.